have a book. It is a rather nice book, for it is a blue book of the Osprey Games variety. If you are interested in War Games, Warhammer, yeah, I guess if you're interested in Warhammer is a war game. If you're interested in war games, then chances are you have at the very least heard of Osprey Games Blue Book series. They are a wonderful set of books, each containing a simple, concise rule set. As you can see, this book is rather thin, which is great because this book can be read, and by me has been read in 2 or 3 evenings, bearing in mind it takes me about 2 months to read a 300-page novel. I am not a very fast reader, and this took me a couple evenings. They're saying that a lot of the stuff, it's fairly easy to understand. There's some bits where could have done with more explaining, but I will get into that later on in the video. First, let's talk about the facts. What is Zona Alfa? Zona Alfa, as mentioned, published by Osprey War Games, is a 64-page long rule set that is aimed at 28mm scale miniatures. Now, it is aimed at that scale, but it does not say anywhere that that is what you have to use. I'm sure if you had 20mm or 15mm, you could use those models. Or if you were especially mental, you could use 5mm if you wanted to. This is a skirmish game where small groups of people go into exclusion zones and hunt for supernatural and preternatural entities and artifacts. So it doesn't really fit the 5mm scale, given 5mm is massive battalions upon battalions of dudes. But I'm sure if you were especially creative, you could come up with something. Yeah. It is written by Patrick Todorov with art by Sam Lamont, and you can see some of his art, which is great, on the cover here. And so you can see, for I think the first time in the channel's history, I've written a script. It is bullet points, but it is a script. As you can see, his art's great, and it is scattered every few pages throughout the book, and it's all great. He's worked on stuff like Call of Cthulhu, X-Men, I think it says here. Yeah. No, not X-Men. He's worked on Doctor Who, Total War Warhammer, as I said, Call of Cthulhu. So he's got a fairly high pedigree as far as his art goes. It's great. It gives you a good sense of the vibe and the tone of the setting. But again, that was meant for the conclusion. I'm getting ahead of myself. Zona Alpha is very heavily inspired by IPs like Metro 2033 and Stalker, in that, as I said, a small group of scrappy survivors go out into the wild to essentially get rich, as far as the book is concerned. And they do this by finding money, as well as artifacts that can be collected as objectives for the game, which raises some fun ideas for objective markets. get creative with that. It could be some weird glowing crystal, or the artifact could be, I don't know, some bit of radioactive material that is giving off radiation that no human has ever experienced before. And, well, yes, you are going to be going up either against another human opponent, or you could just go solo. This game, as with many skirmish games, is great for solo play, especially this one, because there's also a third sort of AI-ish controlled element to the game, where, as well as the other potential opponents in the game, there's zone hostiles, zone anomalies. So those could be zombies or giant rats, or maybe just some weird gravity bending orb. Or maybe it's something more invisible. Maybe it's just something that makes your flesh peel from your bones. Maybe it burns at you like acid. You don't have a clue what it is. Just go mad with it, I guess. Yeah. The book is very much asking you that while it has its own ideas, you can use those ideas, create your own stuff. Right? There's a zone anomalies table and a zone hostiles table that you can roll on this thing. So as for the models that you are going to be taking control of in Zona Alpha, as I mentioned, it is a skirmish game where you take control of small teams of individual miniatures. And these miniatures come in 3 flavors: Rookie, Hardened, and Veteran. Each one of these miniatures costs a point per level. So Rookie's costing 1, Hardened costing 2, and Veteran's costing 3. And along with that level, per level, they get 1 action. So Rookies, again, get 1, 2 Hardened, and 3 for Veteran, which creates some, I imagine, some interesting tactical decisions, because obviously your rookies can only do one thing per turn, right? So you then have to think, okay, do I want this guy who can die and I mean, all your characters in this game are super squishy. That's the joy of it. It's crunchy. But do you want your rookies dying in 1 hit? The issue there is they can only do one thing. So do they move, or do they shoot, or do they do any number of actions this game allows you to do? I won't go into that, because it's a list, and there's other videos that go much more in depth into this book, page by page, which I'm not going to be doing. But yeah, some fun tactical decisions to be made there. And the way you put your team together is using a currency called Kabroshk. Now, don't know what that is, what it means, but again, per level, your miniatures or units will cost 1, 2, or 3 Kabroshk each. Again, based on Rookie, Hardened, or Veteran. Now, every single team that goes out needs to have a character with the leader skill. And those people have to be Veteran. So that's already 3, so, you can then spread the other 9 Kabroshk out in any way you want. So you could easily go 4 Veterans, and just jack them all up. Or you could go the opposite direction and have your one leader and 9 other rookies. It could be that then again I think raises some fun ideas for narratives. You could have this sort of your armed veteran leader potentially leading some civilians into this zone as like a tourist thing. And then it's up to either the opponent, or if you're playing it as a solo game or something with AI, to then try and kill those miniatures while you have to get a relic or some kind of souvenir out, or even just survive with as many miniatures as possible. So, yeah, I think that adds some fun to it. So, yeah. When I come to play games, I will likely, at least while I'm learning the ropes of actually playing the game, because I've read through it, but I haven't, sat down to play a game yet, I will probably create a team of 2, 2, and 2. So 2 veterans, 2 hardened, 2 rookies, so which adds to 12. Do the maths, people. Which seems to want you to play this as a narrative-driven game, given that it's got no, beyond the initial things like, buying, filling out your team, there's no tournament-style point values for everything. So, regardless of what your guys are kitted out with, they will cost that 1, 2, or 3 points. I'll just use the word points. I can't be bothered to decide how that's pronounced. So, you could have 3 dudes with rocket launchers and they'd still cost 1 point if you wanted to just make them rookies. Would advise that, because rockets, I think, only have a very, very set ammo count, because obviously, running around rocket launchers everywhere, kind of broken. So yeah, you do have to think that way. But being a narrative game, like I say, you can really let your imagination go fucking mental with this game. It adds a very Russian sort of 70s vibe about it, even though this, I don't know, is that a 70s weapon? I mean, it has a very 70s vibe about it anyway, given that it's inspired by games and books and movies like Metro 2033, Roadside Picnic, which was written in the 70s, very, you'll get a good vibe, but, you could easily transplant the rule set into any number of settings, really, that involve some sort of area that you're not meant to be going. Reading through this, one of the things that I found that was interesting, one of the ideas I had, was the movie Monster. Or Monsters, I can't remember which, whether the title is singular, or plural. Basically, the idea is a dude is escorting a woman through Mexico, and there are monsters. It is monsters, I just remembered. I think that could be really, really interesting for something like a solo game, where the odds are very, very much stacked against you. So you could have 2 characters, maybe make them veterans, or even, again, make it, 2 veterans and fill the rest out with rookies, or something, or, again, I won't go too into detail, but you could have this escort mission. Even though a lot of the ideas for games center around going into this exclusion zone, getting an artifact, and getting out. You don't have to do that, and you could easily look about ways of making things fun and interesting for you and your opponent, or you on your own. If you are a sad loner like I am. In the book, the end goal for a campaign is 10,000 rubles, which that will allow your characters to retire. So there is that. But yeah, I probably won't go for that because it's cool, but yeah, I've got to be at least a little bit contrarian and not go completely by the book with these things because that's boring. Let's be honest. Anyway, as a conclusion, from what I've read, this is great. Whether it's your 100th rule set that you're getting into or your first, it's great. It's cheap, it's easy, it's cool. If I had to level any criticism, it would be that some stuff is written in an interesting way. I won't say it's difficult, but one thing that I read, I had to read a couple times before it clicked in my brain. Whereas I think if it was basically talking about cover and how cover works and the modifiers to your D10s and stuff that you get based on who's shooting what and where the target is. And it took me a couple reads through of it. I mean, it's only a small paragraph. It needed a small diagram because if you look at some of these pages, you've got plenty of room here to put just a little diagram. If you move the text a little bit across, you've got a good 2 inches of margin there, which you don't need. I mean, I get you might want it for these bits, but if a page doesn't have that, you just shifty, and you got a couple lines free to put a little diagram, just going, hey, this is how things work. This is exactly, what you do and how it, Apart from that, I love it. The art's great, as I mentioned prior, and it really, really sets the scene. Some really cool stuff here. Like some stuff that I wouldn't say no to if they made posters of this. So yeah, enjoying it. Looking forward to getting a game on the table and playing some Zona Alpha. That was a bungled fucking sentence, but I am too tired to re-say it because I have already done about 6 takes of this fucking thing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that video. Hopefully I'll be doing more stuff that's on camera, because yeah, I have politely been badgered by Roan to do more on-camera stuff because apparently it does well. I don't know why you enjoy hearing my voice and seeing my mug, but that Sword Art Online video is one of the best on the channel as far as views goes. It's like 378 something. It's in the high 300s, where the next best video is in the high hundreds, which anyway, so yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for watching this video. If you are not subscribed, please do so, because our target for 2020 is 20 subscribers. We are at 19 subscribers, so we need one person. If one person who watches this video subscribes, we will have hit our target. That's great. Which means we can go into 2021 fresh-faced and ready to make new content for you guys. And Ron and I sat down before he went off to his girlfriend's for a few weeks over Christmas, and we were discussing sort of stuff we want to do, and we've got some fun ideas. Some really dumb fun ideas. But ideas that I think you're going to love. So stick around, click subscribe, click like, click the bell, do the YouTube thing. Am I getting a bit too hyped? Maybe. Which is weird because I have had no sleep. Anyway, thank you, you wonderful, wonderful people. Just, stay safe in that weird, wild world out there.